TIFU by fixing my carbon monoxide alarm with YouTube Premium. So for the past few days, I've been hearing a beeping sound every now and then, and last night and the night before I was hearing it very often, to the point where I was getting a headache. This morning I go into the basement and find that my carbon monoxide alarm is beeping, and so I Google what's wrong with it. I discover that it's beeping every 60 seconds, which means that it's low on battery. I also watch some videos on YouTube just to make sure. So no big deal, I take the batteries out until I get some new ones later on in the day. However, once I go back upstairs I keep hearing the beeping. I go back and put my ear to the alarm and nothing is coming from it, but I can still hear a beep. I live in an apartment, so I thought maybe it was my upstairs neighbor, so I walk up into the attic to see if I can hear it. It's just as loud as it was in the basement, the same thing when I'm in my apartment. So I think it's coming from their apartment, but how do they not hear it? So I walk around for 30 minutes because everywhere I go it's just as loud as before and it's starting to make me mad. I grab my phone and see that a YouTube video is playing. What happened was that I got YouTube Premium last week to test out the free trial, and I'm not used to videos playing when you shut off your phone or go to another app. The video explaining the alarm problem ended and it autoplayed an hour-long video of a smoke alarm beeping. So because it was in my pocket everywhere when it sounded the same and beeped every 60 seconds. I was relieved it was over and was laughing at my own stupidity. TLDR, my carbon monoxide machine was beeping every 60 seconds. I took the batteries out but still heard the beep. YouTube Premium autoplayed an hour-long video of an alarm beep and I walked around for 30 minutes trying to find out what was beeping as it was in my pocket. Felt stupid and laughed. Edit, here's the video: https://youtube.b/el6wh1jj798. The creator of that video would be very pleased. My wife had a similar annoying experience with my YouTube Premium a couple years ago. She was asleep in the passenger seat, and I was driving while listening to my Watch Later playlist with the screen off. It got to a video from Technical Connections about why old-timey car horns sound different. https://youtube.b/add5oct2assi. I thought it was pretty interesting, but what I didn't realize was that all of the various car horn honking noises in the video kept on waking up my wife. She was still like half asleep, so she didn't open her eyes or say anything at the time, but when we made it back home, she said she slept terribly and wanted to know what was happening on the road, that there was so much honking so late at night. She was not amused when I told her the road was perfectly pleasant and the honking was just what I'd chosen to listen to. Haha, funny. Moving to serious, don't forget to put those batteries in. For your safety. I had a neighbor complain to the landlord that one of my smoke detectors was doing the low battery beep. My landlord called me to let me know I wasn't home. Landlord said she was nice about it, but she worked nights and sleeping during the day was hard enough without even a faint constant beep. Completely understandable. So I get home and start checking. 2-floor townhouse with a basement. I can hear it right away. Check the first floor. Nope. Check upstairs. Can barely hear it upstairs, so probably the carbon monoxide detector in the basement. Go down and wait. Hear the beep, and while it's definitely louder, the beep isn't coming from mine. It was the detector in her own basement. I called the landlord. We had a good laugh. The neighbor stopped by to apologize. More laughter. Neither of our stories compare to the Redditor saves Redditors from carbon monoxide poisoning story though. Wasn't YouTube, but I spent 15 minutes tracking down a smoke detector. No matter which one I stood under, it would come from somewhere else. Finally I got my wife and son, and together we stood in different places and each pointed where they heard the beep coming from. After a few tries, we triangulated it to a desk. At which point my wife goes, "Oh, right, since this, new for us, house has wired smoke detectors and that was an extra, I just threw it in there." When I asked why she didn't remove the battery first, she said something like, "It wasn't beeping at the time." My parents once had something in their house that would intermittently start saying low battery. At first they thought it might be their CO detector in the same room, and they replaced it, but it still kept happening. It went off fairly randomly, some days not at all, other times multiple times a day. One day I just happened to be over when it went off, and happened to be standing right where it was. Turns out they had a cordless landline phone plugged into a switched outlet, so it didn't charge if the switch was off. Of course when it happened, they'd go into the room, hit all the light switches and start looking for it, but since they turned on the switch it would start charging and shut up. Reminds me of the joke, I took the batteries out of my carbon monoxide alarm because the beeping was giving me a headache. OMFG, the moment I read that you heard the beeping with the same volume, everywhere you went, I knew it was from the video playing in the background. Lol. So typical way for me, and I guess, a lot of people in general, to fuck up like this. It can't even be made up. Lol, glad you found it out in such a short time. I know how hard is it to think, when you are frustrated by something and have to resolve a problem. The simplest explanation can be the hardest to find. This is actually a high quality TIFU that is believable. Nice to see one on my page that isn't sexual in some way. Wait, you live in an apartment with an attic and a basement? And #X200B